Hi, Heather here, and today I wanted to share some relaxing breathing exercises. I've been teaching this morning, and I think one of the great things about being a voice coach is that I'm always having to draw people's attention to their breath, because the breath has such relevance in terms of singing technique. But also the benefits of breathing well are enormous in terms of relaxation and in terms of how our bodies operate. And so I thought, well, just let's do some breathing exercises together, because one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is coming back to our own breath and being neutral. Because sometimes we don't notice how much of our lives we spend up in the top of our chests, breathing shallow, and we find that we are feeling maybe anxious or panicky or just kind of physically uncomfortable and unable to relax. And a lot of that is because we've become so accustomed to breathing really shallow, to kind of just taking in breath, just the bare minimum of what we actually need to keep us functioning. And sometimes we're so used to being like that we're not even aware of the capacity that we have to breathe well and the subsequent benefits that has, actually. It's really, really good to breathe well. It can help to reset the nervous system, it can lower the blood pressure, it can calm us down, it can bring us back to the present, and so many benefits. I can't actually think of one disadvantage of breathing well, actually, so yeah, it's all good. Anyway, yes, so I thought, well, here I am, I've got my teeth in, let's record it, so that's what I'm going to do. So what I like to do is to work with visual ideas in the way that I teach and the way that I share things. So if you imagine the sea, for instance, and I've got a little bit of water behind me here. Pretend Falmouth is where I am today. You can see that there aren't many rolling waves. Don't get many of them on the Fal estuary. But imagine some rolling waves. In fact, no, let's come back to that in a second. First of all, let me start with talking about where the breath is actually going. It's daft, isn't it? It doesn't sound very, very sensible saying where's the breath going, because it can only go into the lungs, can't it really? But quite often we make do with breathing so inadequately that it hardly gets into the lungs at all, that the breath comes into the top of the chest and then it goes out again, and the shoulders are all up here and we're all sort of breathing like this, or just sort of, very lightly breathing, and that has a kind of detrimental effect on our kind of anxiety levels. So yeah, looking at where the breath is actually going, you've got lungs, if you're lucky. You've got lungs, a couple of them in here, and they're inside the rib cage. And the rib cage is quite flexible. Well, the bones themselves aren't, but actually the muscles, the intercostal muscles between them, are quite flexible. So when you breathe in, the whole rib cage can open up, and when you breathe out, it can start to contract as well. So if you think about that, think about the lungs containing the air that comes in. And it isn't that difficult to do. The body knows how to let the breath into the lungs. Sometimes we just need to let it. So quite often a really good way to start that off is to take a really long breath out. To just breathe out a long, long way until you really feel that you can't breathe out anymore. So you just go, and then you feel all squeezy down here. And then if you just stop breathing out and open your mouth, the breath comes in. And it comes in all the way around. It comes in all the way around the rib cage. So if you imagine that you are a child learning to swim, and you've got one of those rubber rings on under your arms, and it's sort of all the way around here, try and get the breath into every single part of that rubber ring. Try and get the breath into the back of the rib cage. So when you breathe in, that expands. Everything comes out all the way around. And then when you breathe out, it contracts and it all squeezes out. And the muscles that we're using to help squeeze the breath out are the diaphragm underneath here. There's a lot of stuff talked about diaphragms, but basically if you do a sit-up, which I'm doing with my Joe Wicks 5 days a week, you can feel these muscles, the crunchy muscles, the bits down here, like the abs, only kind of between the abs and the rib cage. I don't know exactly where it is, look it up on YouTube. Anyway, the diaphragm muscles are there. I think of them like a little trampoline. So you squeeze those muscles the breath comes out, it squeezes everything here. So, thinking about when the breath comes in, it expands the rubber ring all the way around here, the back of the ribs coming out. And when you breathe out, long, steady out breath, you can squeeze all the way around the rib cage, squeeze the breath out, and the diaphragm as well. So you've got this whole sort of, it's like when you squeeze a toothpaste tube. From the bottom, you get much better quality toothpaste if you squeeze from the bottom. If you squeeze the toothpaste tube from the top or the middle, it's all over the option, and it's not very good quality toothpaste tubing. Anyway, so back to the sea. So what I want to do now is just visualize some rolling waves on the sea, okay? And the wave comes along, you're watching it coming along, and it's building and building and building, and then it breaks, and it slides all the way up the beach as far as it possibly can. And there's nothing you can do to change what that wave is going to do. It's going to slide as long as it can, and then when it's all done, it just slips back into the ocean again, just slips back in its own time. Then another wave comes along, and it builds and it builds and it builds, and it breaks, and it slides all the way up the beach as far as it can. So now in your own time, just imagine some of those waves coming along. And when you see the wave coming along, take in a nice deep breath and just blow. Just watch it in your mind's eye, building and breaking and sliding all the way up the beach. And then when you're done, just open the mouth, let the breath start coming back in. Filling up all around the back of the rib cage. And another wave comes along and we blow. Steady, steady, steady out breath as far as you can. And let it slide all the way up the beach until you feel those squeezy little muscles down there. And you can't push any further. And then you open the mouth. Let the breath back in. And then another one comes along and we blow. All the way up the beach. And then the breath comes back in. As you do that, you're filling up back of the rib cage, and then out again. Long, steady breath all the way out, and then back in again. And now just relax. That's it. So you can do that in your own time. You don't have to do it in the same time as me. Obviously, we've all got different lung capacities. But if you can imagine those waves rolling out, rolling all the way up the beach in your own time, and just bring your attention to what's going on in the body. When the breath comes in, it fills all those cavities around, fills the lungs, expands the lungs, the rib cage, it opens as well. And it's so, so natural. It doesn't have to feel stressful, it doesn't have to feel uncomfortable. Just allow your body to breathe as you visualize those relaxing waves. Now, another good thing about this is that every time we exhale, we're giving our bodies another opportunity to relax. And so you may like to visualize something like if you have some ice cubes and you were pouring warm water over the ice cubes, that just gradually they would melt, they would dissolve, they would disappear. So as you're breathing out, as you're doing these lovely long out breaths, perhaps also visualize something like ice cubes dissolving and melting and taking the stress away from your body. So you may like to feel as if you have ice cubes somewhere in your vertebrae at the back of your neck, perhaps in your jaw where you might be holding some tension, perhaps in your chest or your spine, or even in your hands, just anywhere in your body that you're holding tension. As you're breathing out, just imagine that that warm water is melting those ice cubes and all the tension is just melting away, and then it's being carried away on the tide. So all the tension disappears. So your breathing is all about exhaling, dissolving the tension, letting the breath back in naturally, and out again. Lovely long out breath, dissolving any tension, melting away tension in the spine, in the neck, in the shoulders. And then another one comes in, and we relax again. There. So you can just keep doing that. It's quite good to do this sort of exercise when you're seated. If you're standing up, you may find yourself getting lightheaded. And if you're lying down, you may go to sleep, which obviously is not a bad thing, unless you're supposed to be doing something else. Yeah, but basically those little exercises are really nice just to get your body relaxed, just to get chilled. So you can come back to that. You can come back to that relaxation and the visualization of the sea and the visualization of the melting, and just let the body relax and chill. Okay. And then next you apply it to the voice. But we'll do that next time. Bye.